Hello and welcome back to the channel. I will quickly defer to a little bit of camcorder footage to let you know what this video is going to be about. Right, I know I'm not imagining this. There was definitely a bloody version of It's a Knockout that was running Isle of Man all cache ROMs. I mentioned it in the BWB MPU4 video and loaded in a layout that spectacularly failed to have flyers and photos. There might be some interesting stuff on that disc that failed to have the Isle of Man ROMs. It's going to be one of these around here. Yeah. So this is going to be, one of these, isn't it? Because that would have been, in fact, I'm actually calling that one FME Full Final. That would have been after would that have been after the declaration that there would be no more public releases of MFME, maybe? It's about that era. So let's put it in this, I'm using this on a laptop here, because none of our main PCs have actually got bloody optical drives in them now. I've got an external optical drive, but I'll just fire it up on here because I am determined to see this machine booting up that is running these Isle of Man all cache ROMs, because not that it's pivotal, but it's kind of making the point of what this video is about. So let's just open up that. Where's my fucking pointer? Oh, fucking little trackpad. There we are. Let's have a look what's on here. So files currently on the disk, FME. I don't know if we can see that. Ooh, look at this here. MFME. It's also, we've got MFME V2, but there's no. Is that going to zoom in okay? There's no. And now that'll be the fella there. It's a Knockout. So what have we got here? Crikey, lots of different stuff in there. README. What's the README? Wow, that's a whole wall of text, isn't it? Who's that from there? Let's have a look. Wow, that's a lot of information there. Is that an Andy README file there? It probably is. We'll have a look at that in greater detail. Let's see if we can fire up the layout itself. So let's go back to this. Look at that, September 2005. Being an anal archivist has eventually paid off, my word. We've got a version of the emulator in there, which is MFMEV 1.1. Where's that? Oh, crikey. December 2002. Okay, let's fire that bad boy up, because we've definitely got It's a Knockout in there. So let's fire that version of the emulator up. So, so there's our choices. We can have IOK, well, it's going to be the DX that we want there, isn't it? Last modified in 2004. So let's fire up that DX and see what it says. There it is, booting up. This is the alpha, because it said, there's one of these out there somewhere that says Isle of Man on the alpha when it fucking boots up. I'm not imagining it, I'm sure. Knockout, £8 all cash, that looks good. 20p play, Isle of Man, there it is. So there we are. I knew I wasn't fucking imagining it. There was definitely one somewhere. Now this is before. We've got no resize on this, so you can see this laptop here has got a 1080p screen. You can see it's a ditty little thing, and you got no way of resizing it. We are spoiled these. I think if I drag it around from the bottom here, it doesn't actually resize the layout. So you are spoiled. spoiled these days. We're all so spoiled these days. But there you go. You saw it booting up there. It said £8 all cash and specifically said Isle of Man ROM. That gives me enough because that's going to be the gist of this video, which is the fact that we never had token payouts here on the Isle of Man. Now, when I first came here, we were already in the £6 era, but it had always been the case that it was all cash here. So I was here for the £6 and £8 era, which of course were token payouts in the UK, but always all cash here on the Isle of Man. And this video is just going to be talking about the surprising difference that made to how one would sometimes play the fruit machines.
So, there we are. We have established that the legendary, much rumoured, all-cash Isle of Man ROMs are out there. I knew I wasn't losing my mind. I knew I'd seen them running once before. And fortunately, MFME version 5.1 will run that. Look at the bloody size of the thing. And that is just on... That is within... In fact, I'm going to take a little picture of that. That is within the 2560 by 1440 window on my PC. It looks even more comical on a 4K screen. However, and this was the style of the times, mind you. This was how it used to be back in the day, because monitors had much lower resolution. So let's just drag this fella out here and bring it up to full screen. There we are. That'll do. In fact, you know what? I'm being a bit of a dick there, because we didn't get to see the boot up sequence. Right, so let's actually watch that all-important... Well done, Degsy, you're fucking focusing on the important facts here. In fact, let's drag it all out there. Look at that. 20... Isle of Man. There we go. So, I knew I wasn't making this shit up, that we've always had all cash ROMs on the Isle of Man. Tokens have never been a thing here. We have always had our own legislation when it comes to fruit machines and gambling devices in general. That is why we have £2 play, £500 jackpot, B3 machines, I think they are in the UK. They are commonplace in the pubs of the Isle of Man. And one of the things that was always legislated for here was that you could not have token payouts. I don't quite know how token payouts came to be a thing in the UK. There's always been this division between tokens and cash in UK fruit machines. And it does always seem to have been that half the jackpot value can be in cash and anything above that is in tokens. Here, the ancient electromechanical machine Super Nudge Gambler by Bellfruit, later of course just BFM. You can see on the glass there, wins over 50p paid in tokens, so everything here on those two panels there from 10 to 50p is in cash, but your big jackpot there is in tokens, and you can see all the different coin slots that thing has got there to get your 5p for a play, 10p for 2 play, a 10p token for 2 plays. I think if you put 50p in, you get, I think you get 2 credits and 4 10p's in change. So it's always been a thing. I only got on board with UK fruit machines when I first started going to the pub, which was in late 1990 and early 1991. At that time, the jackpot was £4.80, and you had that delineation, which was £2.40 cash and £4.80 tokens, and we just got used to that. That was the way it was, and we all knew how it worked. £2.40 repeater, everything would be in cash. If you got a jackpot and it held or whatever, you'd get a mountain of tokens coming out the thing, which either had to go back into the fruit machine if there was only one of them in the pub, or the other fruit machine if they had 2 of them, or you could spend them behind the bar on drinks. So since we're here, let's just have a little go on It's a Knockout there. I think we're on, is that 30p a play? Over to Eddie. It's a horrible machine, this. It really is. It's not a good machine, this. Oh dear. This was, for me, this was where Maygay lost the plot. In the £8 jackpot era, they had been so good. Their machines were fantastic. Is that oh god, how the light? Oh, you know what? The dual lights might not be working right here. Is that? No, that is not a red board. I think that started there on 40p, and that just basically means I'm going to be dead. Couple of... Yeah, okay. It's going to have me here, isn't it? Yeah, there we are. We are going to be disqualified. They went from being supremely playable machines. Let's have a fucking Eddie's bonus here. I don't know what it was. It was at the back end of the £6 era into the £8 era when they brought out all those instant wins and the Coronation Street with the massive loopy trail thing and the playability that they had with machines like Coronation Street, EastEnders, all of those machines that I've already covered in the M1AB video series completely went out of the window, and their machines became something that I really did not look forward to seeing in a pub. And in an arcade, I would generally just avoid them. There were far better options, but obviously when you go into a pub, and like me, you just play anything that they had, I would play these if I found them in a pub. Now, these were on the Isle of Man, and you can see there that they do have specifically labelled Isle of Man ROMs in this case to delineate £8 all cash. Now, I think the way it went with, if you started off with 40p, it was absolutely on its arse. 60p was not too bad, and I think it was 80p or a quid would generally suggest that you were going to get to the end, not that the end feature actually had to do with jackpot. And I think this is possibly the very first machine that had a red mode, an invincible board, when your whole trail thing there went red on feature entry. Oh god, we're going to be fucked here, aren't we? Oh, we survived! When your whole trail thing went red at feature entry, you had an invincible board. Oh god. If there was an earlier invincible board machine than this, I do not know what it was, because I've got it in my head that this is the first machine ever that had a true invincible board, where if you saw the whole water chute thing here turn red on feature entry, you knew that it was going to let you get to the end of the trail. I'm not really playing this for any particular reason, well, apart from to demonstrate what an awful machine it is, and how much Maygay managed to completely lose the plot. I've had his bonus. Nudges. Oh, that's not going to do as much good, is it? No, we'll take it. Eddie's bonus again. It was not a great machine to play this. I mean, the whole all cash token thing didn't actually make any difference to how it played. I do remember playing these in the United Kingdom before I came over to the Isle of Man, and they played exactly the same way on all cash or token and cash delineation. The only difference was that all of your wins over £4 would be... I can't miss there. Would be in tokens. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we can definitely get in. Crap, can we get a bit of something? No, that's not great. 60p entry is not great. £1. Well, we can't lose on that, of course. I think Balloon Buster's okay if you can land it. Bungee jump there is an actual skill stop. Okay, let's carry on. 240. I will try and collect something here. So that's £1. The cash filler there is that, isn't it? So £3. Let's play our Joker. He's going to kill me next, Rick. Repeat chance, and we'll collect our £3. Let's get £3 plus repeat chance. So that wouldn't make any difference if you were playing tokens or cash. And no repeat. Okay, we'll have our £3 there. So, like I said, there's no real reason for this being in the video. It's a machine that's not been on here before, and it is the one that I can definitely remember, of course, that had those all-cash Isle of Man ROMs. So then, let's just bring this back to my experiences on the Isle of Man when the penny first dropped for me that there were no token prizes on the Isle of Man, because I had no idea about that whatsoever. I first came over to the Isle of Man late summer of 1994. If you have watched Gambling Low Ebbs Part 2, you'll know where I was at during the summer of 1994. Wasn't a very happy space, but me and Mrs. Degsy had started our relationship, and towards the end of summer 1994, I came over to the Isle of Man for a week to visit for the first time, meet Mrs. Degsy's parents, and set eyes on the Isle of Man for the first time. Now, we sailed over together on the ferry. You can get the ferry from either Heysham or Liverpool to get over to the Isle of Man. We got the ferry from Heysham, which is near Lancaster. Came over, it was the evening sailing, and my father-in-law, or my future father-in-law at that point, picked us up from the sea terminal in Douglas and drove us back to Ramsey. Now, it was one of those not very nice... We have variable weather on the Isle of Man. When it's nice, it's very, very nice, but when it's bad, it's fairly horrid, and it wasn't a nice evening. It was raining, it was foggy, it was windy, and as we drove up onto the mountain, there was just this pea soup fog, couldn't see anything. It was a little bit like feeling, kind of like you were in Deliverance. Where have I come to? I'm not sure about this place. Got back to Ramsey, got settled down in the flat that was above the shop that Mrs. Degsy's mum and dad owned. Got to sleep that evening. Got up in the morning, and it was just a beautiful, glorious day. We got the tram out to Laxey. From Ramsey to Laxey, there's a sort of vintage electric tram system that we keep running over here. It's quite a tourist attraction. It's like the oldest one in the world that's still running, I believe. And the weather had cleared up. The rain had gone, the fog had gone, the wind had gone. It was just a glorious sunny day, and we got the tram out from Ramsey to Laxey. It was beautiful, it was glorious, and I fell in love with the Isle of Man at that point. I had been here less than 24 hours, and I remember thinking, as the tram took us from Ramsey to Laxey, very, very clearly thinking, I want to live here. This is where I want to come. This is where I want to be. At that moment in time, of course, I wasn't going to move over for another couple of years, but I do remember very clearly falling in love with the place very, very early on. Literally within my first day here. The tram took us to Laxey. We stopped in Laxey and then went on into Douglas. You can ride the tram all the way into Douglas. It's quite a ride. I mean, this thing doesn't go fast. I mean, it tops out at about 18 miles an hour or something like that. It's not a quick thing, so you want to be enjoying the scenery as you go. But we eventually found ourselves in Douglas, got up into the centre of Douglas, and then availed ourselves of the pubs of Douglas. And you are talking here late summer of 1994, and we went into a pub in the centre of Douglas. It's still there. It's still a pub called Sam Webb's, very popular pub in the centre of Douglas, and they had these two machines here, Cluedo and Hagar, on the stake and prize that you can see in front of you here, which is 20p, £6, the only stake and jackpot combination to play these machines on, because everything else, frankly, is a little bit shit compared to these. Now, at this moment in time, I had no idea whatsoever that tokens were not a thing on the Isle of Man. So if you've watched the previous videos, you will know that I was very much into my fruit machines at that moment in time, to say the least. So me and the future Mrs. Degsy got our drinks, and I set about playing the fruit machines because that was just what I did. And I played Cluedo. Now, I actually got a jackpot on Cluedo. Let's just see. Shall we see if we can get a jackpot on Cluedo and try and simulate what actually happened, even though we all know what a £6 jackpot actually looks like. There we are. We've got a feature. Let's just see if we can get a token win of some description. That won't do. We're going to carry on. No, that's no good. We're going to carry on because that's £3 in it now. Let's just see if we can get... I mean, it doesn't really make any difference, but... just for the added air... Oh, God, don't murder me. Oh, fuck. For the added air of authenticity, I would quite like to get a jackpot out. Come on, you fucker. Let's just have a jackpot out here. And then... you know what? Since we all know... Oh, there we are. We have got a feature. I might just pause this video and bring it back when I have got a jackpot, but since we're back on the feature, let's have a go. Oh, come on. Any token win will do. No, that's £3. All Clued Up maxes out at £3. 240 is no good. You're just going to fucking win all three now, aren't you? Oh, come on. Oh. Jackpot, surely. Come on. Not a 4. Oh, there we are. Right, okay. There we are. That was almost worth it, wasn't it? So, imagine, transport yourself back, if you can, to late summer 1994. Me and Mrs. Degsy, or the future Mrs. Degsy. I need to come up with a shortened name for the artist formerly known as the future Mrs. Degsy. I had £6 on nudges, and I collected my nudges for £6. As you would, and they go, thank you very much, that's a jackpot, £6 tokens. There we go. We all love the Mega jackpot sequences, so I had my jackpot, blah blah blah, played out the rest of the credits, said to Mrs. Oh, that's a jackpot, that's £6. Now, imagine, if you will, instead of this happening, that, there we are, all those tokens, 30, 20p tokens coming out, what it actually did is paid out £6 coins. And I'm like, dub, 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 dub. And I'm like, whoa, what? It just paid out £6 coins. And Mrs. Degsy's like, well, what's the problem with that? Oh, well, fruit machines just pay out the jackpots like tokens. You're supposed to get 20p tokens. Like anything, any win above £3 is tokens. Like that there £4 should be tokens, and that there jackpot should be tokens. It's just paid me out £6 in cash when I got a token win. Maybe it's bust, maybe it's broken. That's not working properly. And I kind of looked, I almost looked to the bar in a half-hearted sort of, oh, I think something's up with your fruit machine. It just paid me out all cash. Before reality kicked in, I said, shut the fuck up, Degsy. You don't want to tell them that it's paying out cash instead of tokens. Oh, fair enough. I'll have me £6 cash. Went over to the other machine on the other side of the bar, which was this fella here, Hagar the Horrible by JPM. So let's play. This is a great machine. There is a proper video coming in for the system, these later System 5 machines, your Hagars, your Popeyes, your Circus, your Fairground, your Hot Dogs, all that lot. But for now, we're going to limit it just to... Oh, God, the bloody... No, I'm going to spoil it. I want to do the whole samples and all that shit properly when I do the video for these machines. So, let's try and get in. Let's try and do the same thing again and get ourselves a token win on Hagar here. 'Cause at this moment in time, I'm just thinking that something's gone wrong with Cluedo. I've got jackpot, they've messed up a setting, or it's the wrong bloody software or something like that. For some reason, it's paid me out a jackpot all... Oh god, come on, do this. I'll try and stop on £3. Oh, not far off. For some reason, it's... Oh, I bet you £55 million that I am going to roll a 2 next. 55 million quid says I roll a 2. You fucking are! The shield there is the repeat chance, but you need the fucking bridge. It will always fucking kill you there if you don't have the bridge. Pain in the arse. So, right then. I'm kind of segueing into a different video there, aren't I? I need to stay on target, stay focused on the whole token thing. So, I'm playing Hagar thinking that the Cluedo thing was just a mistake. There's something wrong with the machine. Something's not working properly. It's not quite as it should be. And normal service will be resumed when I get... If I get a token win out of Hagar here, it will just be the usual story, which will be a load of 20p tokens are going to come out of it. Back in. Oh, God, they're so good, these machines. They are so good. There will be, I promise you, there will be a proper video coming up about these late-era JPM System 5 machines, because, by God, they had absolutely had it nailed with this. They really did. So I've got the bridge now. The bridge will keep me from dying on that thing there. The absolute dream here is getting a bloody shield off Helga. Oh, go on. Oh, now, I think that may actually be, as crap as that looks, I think that's about what happened. Is that I got to there and got binned back. She gives you the food, and you then... It's a collect prize, basically. I got a collect prize of £4. And I'm so pissing elf. Because at £4, of course, it's one of the worst token prizes. Because £4 is... You're into the token territory, whereas your £3 would usually be a repeater as well, and it was all cash. £4 was a bit of a stinky win to get, because it was £4 tokens. You didn't really want £4 tokens. You know, £6 tokens, a jackpot, maybe a repeat or two would be fine. You'd be happy with that. But £4 was always slightly into that sort of grey area that, yes, it's a £4 win, but in a way, you'd rather have £3 cash repeater. Now, as you can see there, when I collected that bank, I got £4 in tokens. But I very, very clearly remember pressing the collect button. And you know what? I am pretty sure it was on a £4 bank. And sort of, oh God, £4 tokens, here we come. And it paid out £4 coins. So at this point, I'm thinking, hang on a minute. So Cluedo just paid out a £6 jackpot in cash, and I thought there was something going wrong with it. And now Hagar has just paid out a £4 win. It was a single £4 win, and it's just paid it out in cash. This is now not something going wrong with the machine. There's something different going on here. I wonder what it is. And it all comes down to this here. Now, I've zoomed in as far as I can here. But it's basically all machines of this era had a little sticker, a little decal on them that said, all wins over XXX paid in tokens, be that £2 or £2.40 or £3 in the £6 era. Basically, it letting you know that any win over a certain threshold was going to be paid out in tokens. Now, the way they generally did it was to lop it in half. So you'd have a cash progression, as we have here on Cluedo. So what you generally get on a machine is that kind of win progression there. Everything that you can see there is cash, and then you'd have a big leap. You'd double up from the top cash prize up to the token jackpot. So £2.44.80, £3, £6. The £2, £4 machines did it, and as we've seen there, going all the way back to Super Nudge Gambler, it was 50p cash, £1 in tokens. And that was when the penny finally dropped for me, because two machines behaving in exactly the same way, paying these wins that would ordinarily be token wins, paying them in cash. And what I did then was have a little look at that sticker, which says in the UK, which I've seen so many times on so many hundreds of machines, all wins over whatever paid in tokens. On the Isle of Man here, it just said, as simple as this, all wins paid in cash. Simple as that. All wins paid in cash. Now, in all honesty, I can't tell you how many of the machines over here were specific as this one is here, where it actually tells you it's running Isle of Man ROMs. Obviously, they must have had to have done something different to have got them paying out all cash. Certainly Maygay here, with It's a Knockout, explicitly specified that the machine was running Isle of Man ROMs, but there must have been something different for all of these machines, because everywhere else in the UK these things would have been on that cash token split, whereas on the Isle of Man they were always all cash. So that did change things up a bit, as I'm sure you can imagine if you're of a ripe old age as I am. There was always that kind of sense, if you went into a pub that only had one fruit machine and you caught the token streak, you were like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with £30 in tokens? Certainly if you were a little bit outside the kind of route that you would normally drink in, because the tokens back then had about 58 different designs. The idea was that you couldn't just win tokens out of one fruit machine in one pub and then go to the next pub down the road and still be able to use your tokens. The idea was that the tokens were kind of locked to the pub and the machines that they were in. Now, there were only a finite number of designs on these things, and certainly me and my mates, we kind of worked out which pubs in a general area were using the same design of tokens. But generally speaking, you couldn't just take the tokens out of one pub, go to the next pub down the road and know that you'd be able to use them. It was the exact opposite of that. You were kind of locked into the pub that you were in. So you could quite often find yourself having, you'd have to put cash in. That was the thing. If you went into a pub and you didn't have tokens from that pub about your person, you'd have to put 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 pounds cash into the machine, whatever it may be. And if the thing did a bastard token streak, your 25 or 30 pound cash or more than that on a bad day, and if you got the streak, you'd find yourself with £30 of fucking tokens. Then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with this now? If it was a pub that you knew you were going to come back to, then fair enough, you could just kind of keep the tokens over. And if they had more than one machine, you could play the other machine. But I remember very clearly, time and time again, being in the position where I'd invested quite a lot of cash into the fruit machine or the fruit machines in a pub, just to find myself with a mountain of tokens that I didn't really know what I was supposed to do with. So it was kind of like you were investing cash to win not cash back. And the incentive then is, once you've got this big mountain of tokens, you'd kind of put them back in to a dead machine or the other machine in the pub that wasn't looking too lively, just to try and turn your maybe £30 of tokens into maybe £15 of cash, something like that. I have no idea where the legislation originally came from in the UK. It always seemed like a complete scam to me and my friends and everyone I knew. All the people who played the fruit machines used to fucking kick off about the fact that you'd put good money into these things and quite potentially just get a massive great pile of tokens out. I'm sure there was some reasoning about it back in the early days of fruit machines when the jackpots were tiny. But once you got into this £4.80, £6 and then £8 era, because of course £8 was the last token jackpot, from £10 onwards the UK went all cash as well. But you had, even in the £4.80 era, let alone the £6 and the £8 era, you had machines that were capable of big streaks, which could leave you holding 30, 40, £50 in tokens, which essentially is worthless once you walk out of the front door of the pub that you're in. So I would say with some degree of confidence that there were many occasions when I was playing fruit machines in the UK whereby I would have stopped, I would have sort of quit while I was a bit ahead, I'd have quit while I had broken even, or I'd even have quit where I was like a bit down. Okay, I've put £30 in, I've got £20 out, I'm a tenner down, I'll walk away. But of course, oftentimes that £20 that you've got out isn't cash. It's just a big pile of fucking tokens. And you're like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Maybe I'll buy another drink, buy a round of drinks for your friends. I do remember that. You know, everyone would give you the money for the drinks and then you'd pay for it with tokens. But of course, that didn't always happen. That wasn't always available. So time and time again, you find yourself with this big pile of tokens that you just put in back into the machine or the two machines in the pub. Not because you want to, but because you're trying to turn these useless fucking little things, literally tokens. There's a clue in the name, token, suggests it's not really worth very much, to try and turn them into real money. So here on the Isle of Man, that was a big difference for me. That was a massive change in how I played machines. And just imagine that. Just think back to all the £6 and £8 jackpot machines you played that could go big on tokens, leave you with this mountain of tokens which you're not really entirely sure what you're going to do with, particularly if it's not a pub that you're going to be back to in the next day or two, because of course there's however many millions of different designs of tokens they seem to come up with, so they weren't transportable from one establishment to the next. Just imagine if everything was all cash. And that was how it was on the Isle of Man, and that did make a difference. So, quick example, Indiana Jones, the JPM Indiana Jones. If you get to the end of the trail on Indiana Jones, you get to the Ark of the Covenant, and once in a while it would just do £6, £6, £6, which is 18 quid. Now in the UK, that would be £18 in tokens. So you go, okay, fine, brilliant. I've got £18 in tokens. I'm going to have to carry on playing the machines. On the Isle of Man, the machine played exactly the same. I don't think there's any difference in how the UK token versions and the Isle of Man cash versions worked in terms of their gameplay. I just think it was the fact that the tokens didn't exist on the Isle of Man. So that same £6 plus £6 plus £6 would be £18 cash, and then £18 cash is the kind of amount that you would then walk away from the machine with. So I think it definitely made a difference. It didn't stop me losing. I still carried on losing when I came to the Isle of Man, but there were definitely many occasions where I would walk away with that 10 quid, that 12 quid, that 15 quid that in the UK would have been tokens, which I would have no choice effectively but to just carry on gambling with. Whereas on the Isle of Man, I'd have 10, 12, 15 pound in cash, which I could say, you know what, I'm going to walk out of here and I'm either going to go home or I'm going to go somewhere else, and I wouldn't be locked into just carrying on playing the same machines in the same place, because I was effectively trapped there by these token wins. And then it came to pass that the UK sort of caught up with the Isle of Man and decided that token wins wouldn't be a thing anymore, and from the £10 jackpot onwards, all fruit machines everywhere in the United Kingdom were all cash. But it was quite a big difference for me. When I first came over here, I was here for the £6 and the £8 era, and it definitely changed the way that I gambled. I do remember on many occasions going into a pub, getting a jackpot, maybe a jackpot repeater on a £6, which was £12, and instead of £12 tokens, I'd have £12 cash, and I'd move on to the next pub. And if it got to a certain point in the evening or the session or whatever, I'd say I'll call it now, because everything that I've got out of the machines has been in cash, because there's no such thing as tokens. I have no idea why they persisted for as long as they did in the UK. And whilst it was not the whole sort of solution for me, I still carried on gambling like a bastard when I came over here. But it definitely took a little bit of the edge off the proceedings, because you put cash in and you always got cash out, instead of putting cash in and getting these useless fucking tokens out instead. So that's kind of it for this video, really. Not a massive one. It's just to put some context around as well, because I've talked about a lot of £6 jackpot machines in previous videos, and I've sort of mentioned this idea that there's no such thing as token payouts on the Isle of Man, and there never has been. So I just wanted to clarify exactly what the situation was, which is to say that they never existed here on the Isle of Man. So for example, in that video from 3 or 4 weeks ago now, the Jurassic Trail video, you would always, on Jurassic Trail, when I was playing Jurassic Trail in that pub, I had no fear of going for the £6 at the top of the trail, because however late it was, however much I wanted to get home and knew I had to get home, the pub had closed and Les, the landlord, was going to come down and kick me out, there was no fear of going for the £6, because it's not like I'm going to get £6 in tokens that I then have to put back in the machine or do something else with. I know I'm getting £6 cash. And it did change the sort of character of the machines a bit when everything is all cash prizes. With that said, shall we have one more board here on It's a Knockout? Let's have one more board on It's a Knockout, because this, of course, is one of the later era machines. This is an £8 cash jackpot here on the Isle of Man, but it was a £8 token jackpot in the UK. So we'll have a little go. We'll get one more feature, see if it starts above. As soon as it starts at 80p, oh, that's a red board. There you are. And I think this is actually the first red board ever. And I do recall them talking in the arcade. They had this machine in an arcade here, and there was the talk, oh, that means you're going to get jackpot. You're definitely going to jackpot. Just carry on. You're going to get jackpot. And people would try and collect. I remember people saying, oh, I'm going to collect £3. I'm going to collect £3, or then it'll do this. I'm going to collect £8, and I'll just carry on. You can't die. The word was out that this was an invincible board, and we are now going to get a super jackpot. He says it's definitely, there we are, there's the super jackpot. Now, it doesn't necessarily repeat for a jackpot. As you can see, it can repeat for basically any amount here. Let's see if we can get something. Oh, another £8! Jackpot repeater, a proper jackpot repeater there. And this is kind of case in point. if you were in the UK when this machine was out and about, let's just have another one. Come on. Ah, there you go. Now, case in point. In the UK, when this machine was out in the wild, on the Isle of Man, you have now got a £16 cash bank. Collect that out. In fact, it's going to be 16 quid because we're running the Isle of Man ROMs. Imagine, though, that you're collecting £16 in 20p tokens instead. It does make a big difference. Imagine if you're in a pub that's only got one fruit machine, or it's got two fruit machines but you know the other one's dead. What are you going to do with £16 in tokens? You're going to feel compelled to kind of re-gamble them, whereas here that would have just been £16 cash. You can finish your drink, you can walk out, and you can go to the next pub, and that is what I did. I have no idea why tokens were ever even a thing. There was probably some good intention behind them to start with, but by the time we got to the £4.80, £6, £8 era, they had no business existing on fruit machines. This idea that you can put money in and get these useless fucking tokens out, but it was never a thing here on the Isle of Man. So there you go, just a little bit of a trivia video more than anything else. Nothing too spectacular. Not that any of the videos are anything spectacular really. I will get round. I am champing at the bit to get the video done for Hagar, Popeye, Circus, Fairground, all that lot. So that will be coming up in due course. But that's it for this one. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll catch up with you next time. But for now, goodbye.